That's it. LaRoche has defended his title.
The winner and still kick world welterweight champion, Tom LaRoche.
My name is Tom LaRoche, and I'm going to be talking about my life. One is a champion in the natural sense, is one who excels or reaches the top in a particular field, who stands out. But also I believe a champion is one who takes the attributes that they've gained, the attitudes, the gratitude, the tenacity, the hard work, and you take that and you apply it to something beyond you. To me, that's what a champion is. A champion is one who reaches a goal and helps other people to be the best that they can be. I think I was a little bit of a troublemaker, probably more inquisitive than anything. This is the time Bruce Lee just did Enter the Dragon. He had just died. Enter the Dragon had just come out. And he was like, if you talk to a lot of martial artists, even now, they say he was their hero and he is their hero. So anyways, Enter the Dragon come out, and we had just started to train Kung Fu down in Vancouver. I lived in Princeton, and there was a Kung Fu master and a couple of his students were traveling through. They stayed at the motel next to us, and they went out into a parking lot, and they were practicing some Kung Fu. So my brother went out and talked to him, and he was really into weightlifting. He was into bodybuilding. He was very strong, and he was like my protector when I was younger. He went down the first weekend. Then he told me and my friend Delbert, and we traveled with him. And after that, we started going down every weekend. And that was actually a good thing for us, because what it did, it got us out of the small town party scene. Because every weekend, it was like Friday and Saturday, you go out party, house parties. A friend, they had a farm. He'd bring in the cow truck, and he'd load up 20, 25 people, take us up into the hills, and we'd let loose. So what this did, it gave us a new focus when we started training, and that kind of got the hunger for martial arts. I was 18 when we went to Vancouver, and I was about 19 when I took my welding course, and I was 21 when I moved here approximately to Kamloops. And that's when I started training 6 days a week. There was no looking back now. It was only one direction I was going to go. The reality is, the more you do something, the better you're going to be at it. In fact, my coach said this about me. He said, I didn't have a lot of extra talent. It's just that I was in the gym all the time, and I was so consistent. Our coach was able to arrange for us to travel to Hong Kong in 1978. And this was the first time that Caucasian people had competed in this Hong Kong tournament. And so we started training for this, and we started off with 10 fighters, and we ended up with only 4 going, because we were training 7 to 8 hours a day. Early morning, we'd get up, we'd meet at 5:30, 6 o'clock up in Bachelor Hills. We'd run 3 miles in, 3 miles out, go home, have breakfast, and then meet at the gym at 9 o'clock, go 9 to 12. Then at that time, I was helping to teach. So then I would help teach the lunch hour class, and then we'd meet at the gym at 3:30 to 4, and we'd do a half-hour of partner stretching, which was really torture chamber. If you came in there, you hear people moaning and groaning because we're doing partner stretching, forcing each other down to increase our flexibility. Then I would teach 4 to 5, 5 to 6. Then I would train with the evening kickboxers who couldn't make it during the day, and we would train for an hour, hour and a half. Then I would teach 2 classes in the evening of Kung Fu, and then go home, do a half-hour training of stretching, and then go to bed. And I did that for about 7, 8 months. So with that, we ended up with 4 fighters going, but we all excelled in what we did. And then '82, we got invited to a world championship. There was 16 countries. I was the only one from Canada, and I really wanted to go to this tournament. And even to the point I was willing to pay for the trip for my coach and me, because it was, to me, it was a great opportunity. It was a professional fight. So we went and we had 2 fights. I fought the first night, which I ended up really injuring my shin, and it was just swollen up like a balloon. But I won the fight, and then I had the fight the next night, and I won that fight. And then I got back to Kamloops, and I seen this fight on TV in Wide World of Sports, and I looked, and it was my fight in Hong Kong. And I thought, well, how cool is that? I got to be in Wide World of Sports.
July 12, 1984. This scene is taking place at the Memorial Arena in Kamloops, British Columbia. What's happening is probably the most spectacular sporting event ever to hit this city.
They say that the arena, Memorial Arena, it's the fullest it ever was at that point in time. They never had a bigger crowd as that. The whole stands were full. The floor where the ice is, it was just crammed with people. And what you're hearing is stomping on it, and it's loud. And they're shouting out, LaRoche, LaRoche, LaRoche. And it sent just chills through me. So I'm coming out into this, like this is hometown. And I go in the ring, and like, I'm ready to take on the world. To be honest, I had no doubt I was going to win.
Robles, the champion in the blue trunks, with the challenger, LaRoche, in the red trunks.
Now, Ismael Robles, I have all the respect for all the athletes. He was a very talented man. When he came into the fight, he had knocked out 3 or 4 people in 45 seconds to a minute's time.
Now he's falling with the right front kick to Ismael's body. Ismael doesn't seem to have the steam right now.
Doesn't seem to have the snap in his punches that he held earlier.
Beautiful roundhouse kick to Robles' head again, and another one. Tom can feel it. I think he can feel what's happening here.
Basically, what I did is I pummeled him for 12 rounds. But I will say, in the 4th or 5th round, he caught me with a combination, I think, of 4, 5, 6 punches. Just blistering punches, and my head's rocking everywhere. The referee was giving me a standing count, and he had his hand out, and I'm trying to get around, and I'm smiling at Robles in the corner. I'm smiling, I'm waiting for him to let me loose. And finally he let me loose, and I got him in the corner, and I just started blasting. And I still remember the crowd went crazy.
You can see the crowd is going crazy.
And I can still remember Rick Wild, who was probably one of the top sports announcers in Kamloops. He was at Radio NL. He was the ring announcer for this. And I still remember him shouting out, LaRoche! And the crowd went crazy. It wasn't a knockout, it was a unanimous decision. Now, to win unanimous against a world champion is very difficult. You have to clearly outclassed them and out-hit them.
They, put it in Tom's favor, and tonight he deserved to win.
It was just amazing.
I like to believe that I'm a very strong Christian, and that it's important not to let something like this go to your head, because when I look at the belt now, it's not so much having the belt. The belt, anybody, you can go down to the store and make one up. But to me, it's the experiences of reaching that. To me, a champion is somebody who not only just wins a title, but who's somebody who can retain it.
And we're back for the main event, the Kick World Welterweight Kickboxing title fight between the challenger, Alan Watson of Orlando, Florida, and the current champion, Tom LaRoche of Kamloops.
When he came to town, he went over to a biker's gym. Was training in their gym because he thought we were spying. And there's not too much to spy on. I just do my work, and that'll take care of it. When we got in there, he knocked me down with I think a right cross or something early in the fight, and it didn't hurt me at all. It just caught me in the midst of a kick,
As the fight got underway in the early going, it took on shades of last summer's quest for the title. The challenger came out the aggressor in round one, and with his best punch of the fight, a roundhouse left, knocked LaRoche to the canvas early.
In by Alan Watson.
But then the pressure started coming on.
Watson using his reach, you can see him, he's keeping Tom at a distance, which is what he wants to do. That was a nice roundhouse kick to the ribs by Tom LaRoche.
And about the 6th round, that's when I knocked him down, and with I think maybe a right uppercut, left hook.
At a distance. That's it! Watson's down! Watson is down!
And then they give him the standing count. And I remember my coach, I look over and Barry Adkins is doing this. He's got saying, give him the fist. So I got him in against the ropes, and I started blitzing him. And I just nonstop. But then partway through, I'm thinking, I'm getting tired. I might have thrown 10, 15 punches. And then all of a sudden, boom, 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 and down he went, and that was the end of the fight.
LaRoche cannot put him down. LaRoche is trying to...
He's down! Watson's down again!
That really built a confidence in me. I just fought a guy who was my height before. Now I fought a guy 6'1".
That's it! LaRoche has defended his title. The fight is over.
And the crowd went crazy. And I think I danced around a little bit. And I danced around, and then I dropped into full side splits, because I used to like doing that at the end of the fight. I'd drop in full side splits, jump up on my feet, and then it was just amazing. Really, there was no surprise. And again, each time you have a win like that, right away I do a playback in my mind after the fight. What did I do right, and what did I get caught on? And so what I do is I go back to the drawing board, I try to improve on what I got, and then I'm always watching fight videos. Back then, that's when the super welterweight division went, where we had Sugar Ray Leonard, Roberto Duran, Tommy Hearns, and Marvin Hagler was middleweight world champion. You had all these guys fighting, and I would watch them hours. I would just consume it. That was my life. There was nothing else other than God was always number one. Every night I'd go to bed reading the Bible. I'd fall asleep on my knees sometimes because I got such inspiration from the Bible. Because you see battles in there, overcoming possibilities. And I'd wake up 2, 3 in the morning, I'm on my knees with my Bible, climb in bed, go to sleep. And so really, that was my life.
Well, we're waiting now for the championship fight The fight that we've all been waiting for, Jim. Tom LaRoche and Rick Simmerly getting ready.
My third fight I fought in Kamloops here. Fought a guy named Rick Simmerly.
Tom LaRoche getting a standing ovation.
It was interesting. Alan Watson was 6'1". Rick was my height, or maybe even a little bit lower. Now, this is one thing I knew. I didn't care whether you're short or tall, I was going to kick you in the head. But if you're my height, my feet and my shins are going to be around your head, across the arms, across the body. I mean, because it was so easy for me to put my feet up there.
Another one. And LaRoche taking those high kicks.
It was a 12 rounds of non-stop punishment where I pressed him, pushed him, punished him to the very end of the fight. I mean, I have to hand it to him because he was very fit to be able to take the punishment.
That roundhouse from Simmerly on the arm. There's a hard shot. And another one to the other side. And one to the midsection. And one to the head. And a right hand!
But you know, always at the end of the fight, what I'd like to do is we get together and I talk with him, and he was a Christian man too. So that was great. You know, we talked after and I had a chance to pray with him, and so I had a lot of respect for him. That end, unanimous decision on my point. Like I said, he never got knocked out, which I was surprised because I hit him with everything.
The winner and still kick world welterweight champion, Tom LaRoche.
So we hosted 3 world title fights here in Kamloops, which is phenomenal for a smaller city. And we had such a good following. The people supported it. We fought in New Haven, Mississippi, and that was actually my last fight. I retired after the fight. Now, the build-up to this is that we've been training. We're 2 weeks away from the fight, and I'm at a church meeting, and there's an organization called YWAM, Youth with a Mission, and they're actually doing a presentation to this church and invited all the churches. And I'm sitting there watching, and this guy gets up, the preacher, and he says, you know, there's people in here who've put idols up above God, and God's saying to put it down. I get this overwhelming emotion starts rising up to a point I break into tears. And my pastor comes over, Larry Peterson, and I said, I gotta quit. So we're 2 weeks away from a scheduled fight. I go in and see my coach, and I said, I can't fight. He says, what do you mean you can't fight? Everything's in order. And I said, I can't fight. I says, I feel God's told me I got to quit. So we talked it over, and I went and thought about it, and I said, okay, I'm going to fight. This will be my last fight. But don't tell anybody I'm retiring. I'm going in there like I'm going on and on and on. We had the fight, and it went 12 rounds again. But in the 6th round, he said later that he was knocked out on his feet in the corner. And I can still remember it. And actually, in that 6th round, I broke my right hand. And I fought 6 rounds with a broken hand. I remember I'd punch and it would hurt, but you're wrapped, so that really helps. And then the fight, it was a good fight, eh? And we had a great battle, and they gave me a unanimous decision. And then we did an announcement. We got all the media together, newspapers, radio, TV.
And today is my opportunity to tell everybody I'm not going to be fighting anymore.
They thought we were going to announce a new fight someplace. And I come in, have my Bible in my hand, and I said I'm announcing my retirement today.
It took a while after leaving kickboxing, but LaRoche landed on his feet as a recreation and phys ed instructor at the High Valley Camp for young offenders just outside of Logan Lake.
Some of the kids are coming from, very often in fact, they're coming from dysfunctional families. That means where families have been separated. Some kids, they don't have any families, have been taken away from their parents because maybe home isn't the best place for them at this particular time.
I was working at a jail for teenagers, and I seen all these teenagers going through the youth corrections.
And so you got kids who, they've been let down, they've been hurt, and they've been put down, and so they don't really have a lot of trust.
And I thought, no, I need to get back teaching martial arts because there's structure, there's discipline, there's all these things, there's principles of life that can be input into the young people. And so I started teaching kids and teenagers and adults again.
Tom LaRoche hasn't forgotten his first love, the martial arts. He still teaches Gung Fu at a number of elementary schools, as well as spending time with the Boys and Girls Club, keeping up his commitment to community involvement.
He's a very caring person. I would say sometimes overly so. He can be a little bit in your face about things, but it shows that he really cares about what's happening with you in your life. So I think just knowing that somebody like that really cares about you, like a parental figure, a father figure. I've known Tom for about 30 years now. I met him when I was first 16 as a teenager. I just moved to Kamloops. Beforehand, things were fairly turbulent, chaotic. But meeting Tom, I really found someone that was stable, and that stability really helped a lot. Just knowing that there was an adult there that I could go to for help or for guidance.
He's very much a mentor to the young people, which they're needing today. You know, it's really refreshing, encouraging when you have a spouse that shares that love for people who are hurting. So it's not just about kickboxing with Thomas. It's about people.
Give away part of who you are to the people around you. And you'll become part of their life. You'll see, it's like a child with their parent. You'll see glimpses and images of that adult in that child.
My name is Tyler Wood. I've been a part of Tom LaRoche's Gung Fu School for a very long time now. It's been, we're just counting today, over 37 years off and on. I can definitely say I would not be the person who I am today professionally. I am an economist for the Ministry of Health. I have lived in 3 different countries. I have, at one time I spoke 2 different languages, in addition to English, that I never grew up learning. And I would not have been able to do any of that without the skills I learned from Tom.
Well, I think for me as a woman, like one of the things he's always done for us women is to make us feel confident enough that if we're out there that we could protect ourselves. And a lot of times, you know, when he has any of us women or girls in the class, he's always shows us some techniques of how to protect ourselves. And I think it's just him being really in tune with us. And a lot of us have, you know, I've been going there for 20 years, my husband's been 30 years. I think he really gets to know us as people. So he gets to know our character and our work habits, which is really nice. I think that really lends to a strong relationship as well.
I would say that even times where I wasn't in Kamloops, he's always been a big part of my life. in terms of the lessons, in terms of just character.
He's a very kind person. He's like he's just like my family kind of.
My wife and I we met in Kung Fu as teenagers. My daughter, she started in Kung Fu when she was 3. We just thought it was important to have something that was generational. So something that she could do that would kind of follow, that we could do together. So, I think it's really important because, having a girl, especially when she's going to grow up, I think it's really important for her to have self-defense. But also it teaches you a lot, right? About character, commitment, always striving to do your best.
In the class when I teach martial arts, the attitude I'm putting across, yeah, we're in here punching, kicking, we're teaching self-defense, but there's going to be some time in your life when something's going to come up, and your opponent may not be a person. It may be a situation, it may be a circumstance, it may be a sickness, it may be a financial difficulty, a relationship issue. But if you build this tenacity and this hard work, it'll help you to overcome that area.
He's tough, but it's that tough love. Because a lot of times, sometimes you'll get the kids coming in there with an attitude. We're parents, we all know. And but he corrects them in a way and challenges it in a way where it doesn't break their spirit. Most often, the teens will stay after their classes and they'll stay to talk to Thomas. And you hear, just in passing, I would hear, just the struggles that they're going through, whether it's peer pressure. And a lot of times they would be talking about peer pressure and situations at home. He's become a very influential mentor with the teens.
Kids are not just coming to lessons. They are not just learning a martial art. They are learning how to defend themselves. There is so much that Tom teaches children and youth and adults that has nothing to do with Kung Fu. And this is the thing that's great about Tom, is that his lessons to his kids and his students don't start at the beginning of the class and they don't end when the class is over. They continue. They are before the classes. They are after the classes. They are between. He brings in his students and he looks out for them. He generally cares about their well-being and their future development.
He's a counselor to them, and a friend and a buddy, and whatever the situation calls for. But at the same time, he still has maintained that professionalism.
If you hang around positive people, you have a tendency to be positive. If you hang around successful people, you'll have a tendency to be successful. And that's what we're doing, is creating a good atmosphere.
People ask, well, how long are you going to kickbox? When are you going to stop? When are you going to do something new? And I said, probably never, because I enjoy. Why would I change? I could do this till I'm 90-some years old, maybe 100, who knows?
For his work with the young and the old, Tom LaRoche is our hero of the week.